everybody. I'm going to pass over to Steve to say good evening. Okay, Steve.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our first International One One Oneness Day. I'm your host, Steve Behrman, and I'd like to introduce my two co-hosts, Elaine Parke and Kurt Griffith. He's also our event producer. You can see that by his background. And our newest team member, Rosie Greep, who is our partner in launching the Oneness Mastermind movement, which you'll hear about later. And now, at a time when so many people are asking, what will one person do? We have up-leveled the question to, what can all of us do together? Tonight's program addresses that question and offers us practical and playful ways to make oneness a reality. And to set that playful tone, we'll begin with an invocation by Swami Beyondananda. Swami, take it away. Hello, this is Swami Beyondananda welcoming you to One One Oneness Day. Now listen, we've all heard it. There will be peace on earth one day. The tribes will come together and the rednecks shall lie down with the blue necks one day. One day it will all happen. Well, what if that one day is this one day that we celebrate oneness, One One Oneness Day? And what if this is the day that we have oneness once and for all? That this is day one of a newer world order where the golden rule overrules the rule of gold. I have to tell you, I don't make predictions. I don't want to jeopardize my non-profit status. I prefer television. If you don't like the current programming, turn off your TV and television instead. That is where I television to you, you television to me, and we have healing and functional visions to step into, and that certainly beats what we've been stepping into. So I will tell you my vision. First, all of us, all of you, are the imaginal cells of a new body politic and imagination. Imagination. So imagine all of us stepping off the old battlefield onto a new playing field from the same old tug of war that has been pulling us apart, and together create a tug of peace where we all pull together in the same direction to what we all want. Imagine all of us upshifting our karma from the fear-based state of emergency to a love-based state of emerge and see, where we emerge from the illusion of separation and we see we are all one with the same one. The universal oneness. The universe has us surrounded. Might as well surrender. Imagine all of us together practicing heaven on earth instead of going to hell in a handbasket. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Swami is proposing a sane world. He must be crazy. Well, maybe it's time for all of us to go sane together, to commit ourselves to a sane asylum and leave the static in our heads that has been dividing us, but the ecstatic in our hearts that is bringing us together. Because as you know, the more we expand our hearts, the less we're going to need to shrink our head. Like that. That's right. When things come to a head, I say head for the heart. In these polarized times, when divisionaries are pulling us apart, we need true visionaries to tell their visions of unity so that all of us can go sane together. We're going to be hearing from the Swami throughout the program. If you attend our after party, the Swami will be around to answer your questions, and you will surely question his answers. So, as you probably know, this is not the first or only Oneness Day, and that's fine. As Swami would say, there are no two ways about it. Oneness is the way to go, which is why we're honored to offer an opening statement and television from Steve Farrell, founder of Humanity's Team and convener of the first Global Oneness Day in 2010, which is now Global Oneness Week.
What does oneness look like when it's in practice? Is there some physical manifestation that you go, this is my vision of oneness?
I'll even do you one better and give you examples today of oneness. So
Yeah.
one, in my home, It hasn't always been like this. This is a journey, right? We grow into it, we stretch into it. So, but today, you look at my texts and my family, love you, love you, love you, hearts and things. My son, who's 21, son's 21, don't usually do that. Daughter, 19, wife. Around the home, it's a loving environment. So this is what's foundational in oneness. At work, Humanities Team, of course, is a 501c3 nonprofit. Its culture is this. It is this oneness. It is this conscious thing where we see with new eyes, right? In a sense, we are reborn in the sense that we see, it's divine presence itself, which then says, boy, each person is huge, right? They're all inseparable from, I'm using the term universe, but you could use the word divine or God. The level then of respect, of honoring, of listening, of contributing, and then thanking is huge. So in Humanities Team, it's extraordinary. Even though we're virtual all over the world, it's just amazing at the level of productivity and the level of satisfaction of being fulfilled.
Yeah, thank you very much. And Steve Farrell, I'm glad you had that to say. Steve is really a pioneer in this entire oneness thing, so we wanted to give him a time to have something to say and share a vision. So now we're gonna continue with these visions, to overgrow division with vision. So I'd like to take my cohorts on this panel, take a minute to offer their vision of what oneness looks like in practice and reality. And so let's start with Elaine.
Okay, Steve. So I came out of corporate America, as many of you may know, and to me, oneness, peace, unity, it's like an image. It's like a corporate image that doesn't really have a body to it unless it has departments and has components that turn it into a living being. And for me, the way we convert oneness and unity and peace into a living, active being here on earth is by creating, is that it's made up of values, made up of aspects of actions. So there's the Department of Gratitude and the Department of Resolving Conflicts and the Department of helping each other, the Department of being more patient, the bringing out the qualities in humans that are actionable, that all together, when we're all practicing these actionable qualities together, then oneness and peace and unity come alive as a being, because it has structure. Just like our body is one being, but we wouldn't be alive if we didn't have the different parts of our body doing our jobs. So that's how I see oneness, Steve.
Very good. Thank you, Elaine. Kurt, how about you?
Okay. As a person of mixed ancestry and part of that being native, I cling to this whole idea of Mitakuye and the Tioshbeye. The Tioshbeye in the Lakota world means family, means community. It's any group of people who come together with shared purpose. And so one of the things that we say around the sun dance is Chant Wanji, which Nagi Wanji, one heart, one mind, all shared purpose. So we put together all of our differences and we focus on making that ceremony happen. And what we try to do when we leave the dance ground is take that energy back out into the world with us and try to make things, whatever little piece of the planet we're responsible for, a little bit shinier, a little bit kinder, and a little bit more accepting of the people around us.
Good.
And that's a minute.
Thank you.
I'm done.
Thank you. How about Rosie? Your vision of oneness, what oneness looks like to you?
Yeah, well, as a community organizer, it's been my experience that we have more in common than we don't. And by bringing those commonalities together, we all can become one. Whether it's in a particular city, whether it's in a particular scientific group, an educational group, we all have commonalities that bring us together to make us one. And it's just a matter of finding those things that we can agree on.
How about you, David Gruder? Our one of our noted guests, David Gruder.
Well, thank you. So noted. My version of oneness in the real world is recognizing that all of us are in reality unseparated as spiritual expressions of source, whatever word you use for that, who are sustained on a physical level by our planet and all that nourishes it, functioning as unique conduits of universal higher love and wisdom in all of our daily thoughts, words, and actions, and spotting when we've forgotten who we truly are and restoring ourselves as rapidly as possible over and over and over again throughout each day.
Thanks, David. Participation in oneness, putting yourself right in the picture. Richard Flyer, your vision of oneness.
Oneness to me, it's embodiment. It's multidimensional. From getting up, waking up in the morning, and being present within my family, and then it extends to the work I do with the clients that I have, the community as a whole, and the way I interact with them. And it's all about intentional mutual benefit, which is something that reflects an actual reality. So I was just thinking of one example, something as simple as holding the door open for somebody who's leaving I was remember a thrift store, and the idea is that to the world it might seem like you're doing good, but in reality there's no separate self. There's just a conjoined shared self, that we're in this together. So that action isn't in a sense something separate. It's a reflection of the oneness. It's a reflection of reality, and it gives us pleasure to do things like that because it is a reflection of reality. So that's something that can then extend into the community, and hopefully later be able to talk more about that.
Thanks, Richard. That's a great example. Finally, our good friend Linda Starwolf, who's going to help us breathe out the old and breathe in the new in a little while. Linda Starwolf, what's your vision of oneness in action?
I was just saying a little prayer because I really wanted to touch into something deep within myself. And I could hear Grandmother Twyla Nitch, a Seneca Wolf Clan grandmother who gave me that name and who taught me lovingly for so many years before she moved on at almost 94. And remember, she said to me that you can choose how you want to live life. That's up to you, regardless of what's happening in your life. Sometimes we don't feel that we can. We feel victimized, or, we're having a bad day. There's something going on. Somebody's done something to us, or we're upset with the things in the world, which is so understandable. But she said we can do this one of two ways. We can do it alone, A-L-O-N-E. I thought you'd appreciate this, Swami. We can do it alone, A-L-O-N-E, or we can do it as all one, A-L-L-O-N-E. When we remember that we're all one, then every good thing that's happening in the world is happening to us. Also, every horrible thing is happening to us that's happening in the world. And that can seem really like too much sometimes, and it can feel overwhelming. But when we can surrender into that and open our hearts get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then we have the gift of empathy. And that's what will help us with our depression and despair and feelings of hopelessness, is to say, me too. If this hasn't happened to me, it could, or to my loved ones. And to have empathy creates then compassion, and compassion then creates acts, A-C-T-S, acts in the world that come from that deep identification with everyone, with all one.
Thank you. I love that distinction, alone, all one. It says it all. All of us can relate to that. Well, the Bible says where there's no vision, people perish. So thank you for sharing these visions with us as we get started here. When Bruce Lipton and I published Spontaneous Evolution, we said that crisis precipitates evolution. And if we look at the conflusion and confluence of crises we're looking at right now, we can see the chances of precipitation are about 100%. So we are facing an existential crisis. And if we, as a species, want to continue to exist, we have to shift from me versus you to me and you, and apply our individual gifts and talents to create, as Richard pointed out, mutual benefit. We have to learn a new game, what Bucky Fuller called the world game, which is a better alternative to the end of the world game, which it seems like is taking place on the old battlefield. So in this next part of the program, we're going to address how to turn our lofty visions into grounded reality. And once again, we're going to call on the Swami. Now, the purpose of One One Oneness Day is to launch the Great Upwising. The Great Upwising, a 4-step program guaranteed to work 3 times faster than 12 steps. Wake up, wise up, grow up, show up. Where we wake up to the illusion of separation. We wise up to the coherent power of love. We grow up from children of God to adults of good, and we show up on a new playing field, ready to play a new game, thriving for each and all, intentional mutual benefit. Oh, and to help us go sane together, there is an important 5th step. Take a vow of levity. Given the gravity of the situation, we all need levity to lift us up to a higher state and a higher view. Let each of us become a beacon that radiates heaven to earth. That is our destiny, to let our light completely shine. The enlightened ones called it fulfillment. And here is some good news. Here is some good news. That playing field that will help us turn the pie-in-the-sky ideal into the feet-on-the-ground real deal is already under construction. Remember, heaven on earth is not a destination. It is a practice. The quickest way to get to heaven is to start there. So now you're going to hear about how you can join the uprising and radiate heaven everywhere you go. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Swami, and thank you, gods of technology, for allowing that to happen. This is really the most exciting part of our program today, because we're going to get into the practical reality of how we actually do bring oneness into the real world on a daily basis. We've got 3 guests who are not just visionaries, but they're also solutionaries. They're already bringing heaven to earth in the most practical ways imaginable. I want to begin by introducing David Gruder. He is the founder of a new platform called Center for Enlightened Self-Sovereignty that he'll tell you about. He's been applying his wisdom in the real world for decades. And when I looked at his Center for Enlightened Self-Sovereignty and looked at his website, I saw a detailed map and guide for how to lay out the Great Uprising, which is the necessary and urgent awakening of humankind. So David, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Center for Enlightened Self-Sovereignty and how we, all of us together, can practice oneness in the real world here and now.
Well, thanks, Steve. And welcome all of you. I'm so glad you're all here. And the beauty of this event is really underscored by the notion that there is not one way to achieve our goal, because different people have different metaphorical structures, different ways of resonating. In my bias, there is one spiritual experience, but there are multiple pathways to accessing that. And so I do love that you're going to be exposed to a number of different frameworks. And I guess I'm going to get to share my framework first. So the Center for Enlightened Self-Sovereignty was founded in basically because I believe that the 21st century is aching for an I have a dream speech for our time, and not just the I have a dream speech, but the I have a plan framework for turning the dream into actualization. So the Center for Enlightened Self-Sovereignty offers one version of that in moving the great uprising forward in accelerating the practice of heaven on earth. And the oneness that unites us starts, from my perspective, with our fundamental architecture, which is that we're social beings endowed with free will. And these two components, being social beings and having free will, these are our fundamental architecture as human beings, and they translate into the unfortunately largely forgotten framework of all free countries, or at least all countries that aspire to be free, which is integrating the common good, which is societal well-being, and personal freedom, which I call self-sovereignty, instead of sacrificing either one for the other. And on top of that, our growth edge as human spirits is to align what I've come to understand are our three core drives: our drive to be who we truly are, which is our drive for authenticity, which translates into self-integrity. That's the me part of who I believe we truly are. The second drive, core drive, is our drive to bond with others, which is our drive for connection. And that translates into relationship integrity. And that's the we part of a whole and complete human being. And the third core drive is our drive to influence the world around us, which is our drive for impact. And that translates into collective integrity, which is the us all part of a whole and complete self, which is 1/3 me, 1/3 we, and 1/3 us all. The next building block is basically, from my perspective, the species we've been, called Homo sapiens, is over, and there's no going back. Next is what in some circles has been referred to in Latin as Homo Deus, which translates into human God. However, there are two versions of human God. There is what I call the Homo Machina version of human God, which is where we are turned into part biological, part cybernetic serfs to those who think they're smarter than Source, but who are actually operating from a faulty happiness formula built on their own insatiable needs for wealth and power, versus the other version of Homo Deus, which the Center for Enlightened Self-Sovereignty is dedicated to helping bring about, which I call Homo Spiritus, which in English, it's Latin for human spirits, where we're conduits of higher love and wisdom in the physical universe. And so translating that into a framework for actualization leads to an accompanying plan that's needed so the age of Homo Spiritus can actualize, and the potential dysfunctional age of Homo Machina doesn't have a chance to gather momentum. And the one that the framework that's being utilized by members of the Center for Enlightened Self-Sovereignty is what I call the SPARK blueprint. And SPARK is an acronym for 5 core ingredients. The first ingredient is the S in SPARK, which is shatter spells. So part of what keeps us from actualizing an enlightened future, actualizing heaven on earth, is that many of us are still under the sway of societal spells that are all about separation and scarcity and things like that, and personal spells, which are created by our own unresolved trauma structure. So the first step in the SPARK blueprint is shattering those spells. The second step is the P in SPARK, which is picture the future. We really can't picture a fully evolved version of an enlightened future as long as we are being controlled by spells. So after we've shattered our spells, we get to picture a truly enlightened future that is about bringing about heaven on earth. And once we have each pictured our version of that enlightened future, pardon me, then we get to move into the third ingredient in the SPARK blueprint, which is the A in Spark, and the A is for align. It's where we align our essence, our purpose, and our paradigm, our worldview, and our self-view in service of actualizing our particular chosen role in helping the future that we've pictured to emerge. And then the fourth ingredient in the Spark blueprint is the R in Spark, which is reimagine your toolbox. Because once we've pictured an enlightened future and we've aligned our essence and purpose and paradigm in service of bringing that future about, the tools we've been using, the skills we've been relying on, the skills most of us have been trained in, aren't really up to the task. So we really have to reimagine our toolbox, our skill sets, in order to actualize our purpose in helping that future emerge. And then the fifth ingredient is the K in Spark Blueprint, and the K is for Kindle collaboration. And this is where we collaborate with each other and we align with particular initiatives for societal well-being elevation that amplify our particular unique role in helping that enlightened future emerge. So the Spark Blueprint that I've just given you a brief introduction to is the Center for Enlightened Self-Sovereignty's framework for, as Swami Beyondananda says, waking up, wising up, growing up, and showing up.
Thank you so much, David.
Nice.
I really appreciate that. Very good. I appreciate also this whole idea of releasing these spells. Richard will talk a little bit more about the culture of separation. And I'm really looking forward to our ceremony at the end of this program, or toward the end of the program, where we are going to dispel some of the old spells and reimagine some of these new things that we want to have happen. So I appreciate the wisdom and the way that you've put that together, and the infrastructure for a teach-in, for re-education, for oneness, to accelerate that progress so that we get a critical mass of the heretofore uncritical masses on board with this paradigm of thrival. Okay, very, very good. Now we're going to go to Richard Flyer. Richard is the author of an upcoming book called Birthing the Symbiotic Age, Ancient Blueprint for Modern World. So, Richard, what are some of the specific ways that you've seen oneness in practice through your life and your work, and talk a little bit about this ancient blueprint that you mentioned?
I'd be happy to. So it's good to be in your presence today. And yeah, David, he was right about different frameworks. I think people, all of us, based on our personalities, gravitate to one form of expression or another. And I'd like to share one more personally. So actually, the book is not just upcoming, it's actually being released as we speak, and talk more about that later. Just want to share a little bit about the ancient blueprint, and it has to do with a set of experiences that I'm chronicling in my book. It happened 50 years ago, and it was ongoing. And it was a breakthrough to a transcendent reality. And many of us have these kinds of experiences over our life. For myself, when I was a child, I had this experience that caused me to take a look at the culture around me. So right now I'm talking about the early 1970s. And I was able to get a sense that the experience I had of, you could call it oneness or of a transcendent power, was so radically different than the way human society was organized. It just seemed so fragmented to me. There was just, as a child, I was able to receive the suffering that was around me, and it set me on a path to understand, what the hell's going on, like what's happening with this reality. And just long story short, it set me on a path to community engagement. So in my 20s, which is in the 1980s. I started to get involved in different community activities. And then towards probably late 80s, I became aware of a movement in Sri Lanka with boots on the ground now for 65 years. And they're building community in a radically different way than we would think of in the West. In the West, we tend to separate our spiritual path individually from other compartments of life, like community. But in Sarvodia, what I discovered was a complete integration of what they call, from a Buddhist perspective, personality awakening, integrated into village awakening, personality, family, and village awakening. So in other words, they're satisfying all the different needs of life, from the physical to the spiritual, and they're doing that together. It is mind-boggling to imagine that, because our society, I'll say that ours as in the West, urban, is not organized that way at all. So in Sri Lanka, they started in one village, and then they expanded to half the country, 15,000 communities. 5,000 of these villages or towns or communities have an active, what they call a Sarvodia society. So it's literally a coherent effort of people coming together to not only focus on their own spiritual awakening, personality awakening, but the whole community as a whole. And what I learned from them over the last 35 years is how to build infrastructure for oneness and deployment. So Sarvodia was so inspirational. The founder is still alive. He's in his early 90s. And I've worked with them. I've learned from them. So probably 35 years ago, I began the first community networks, and starting in San Diego, based on what I was understanding, not only from Dr. Aryaratne of this Sarvodia movement, but also Mahatma Gandhi's effort to do what he called village awakening movements. But even Mahatma Gandhi got this template, this pattern from Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount. I call this the ancient blueprint. The ancient blueprint was proclaimed by Jesus in a way that is very commonly understood as love God and love others. So it's a way of relating the transcendent principle with an immanent principle of our neighbor and our community as a whole. I call that an ancient blueprint because within this pattern of, in a sense, downloading the transcendent, embodying it within ourselves as human beings, taking the form of virtues that are universal, those virtues order and unite our own individual personality. So that's the way we download this transcendent power. And as that's becoming embodied within ourselves, it can naturally flow into the community. The question is, well, how does this transcendent power have a network to receive it when the existing systems and structures, the values and principles, are antithetical to this even happening? So that's the quandary, is we live in a matrix of a world, of an economy, of just a way of organizing and relating that's antithetical to this principle. And that's where our individual self-sovereignty, as they would say, is that it's no matter what's happening in the world, it's up to each of us to do our own part in embodying this, no matter what's happening outside of ourselves. There's no excuse, no blame. It's just a reality as we step up. And what I learned from Sarvodia is building network infrastructure around common shared needs. It is very simple and straightforward. Every community has areas that can bring people together, as Elaine was talking about and the other presenters. And those would be things like growing more food locally, consuming more food, energy and water and housing and spiritual and cultural needs, the clean and healthy environment. These are all areas of community from which you can focus this goodness that's coming through us. And you can build networks of individuals and other organizations in a local community. I call those symbiotic networks, and I've been building them for 30 years. And think of it as like you're downloading this transcendent power within our own body mind in a multidimensional way. And then you're also connecting to others in your community by building small groups that are doing the same. And then those groups then connect outward and actually build infrastructure. I call those symbiotic networks. Those are networks of existing activities, leaders, organizations, businesses.
Okay, Richard, you're
The
kind of
transcendent.
you're sailing on. All of these topics are book worthy. In fact, you've written the book. We do have to soldier on.
So
Yeah, that's fine.
Let me make a quick comment on connection, because what Richard is talking about in bringing these virtues to life and to light is what Elaine is going to be talking about. A very exciting program that is being launched starting now.
We are so pleased to have with us Steve Farrell, who's the founder of Humanity's Team and Global Oneness Day. Why oneness? How does oneness best express the intention of your work?
So we're 20 years old. When we were founded June 2003. This was, the way we talked about it then was awakening the world of oneness. Now we more talk about living consciously. They're actually one and the same thing. As we know, mystics down through the ages, right, have shared we're all one. It goes back to Hippocrates, Plato. For millennia, this has been shared. And importantly, science is affirming this now, right? Especially quantum physics. Max Planck, Erwin Schrödinger, Albert Einstein, we can go on. Nassim Haramein, a contemporary, all of them. This is their life work. Everything is deeply interconnected, interrelated, and interdependent. So it's not just our separated body that's the whole thing, which is how we grew up, right? The center of our universe is our separated body. It's actually the spiritual universe that's animating all of life that we're living into, our bigger self, not our smaller self. So whether we want to call it oneness or diversity and unity or conscious living, this is the important thing because this is ultimate reality.
Okay, now the second question is, when oneness is manifest, what does it look like in the real world? What is your vision of oneness in practice?
Oneness is, for me, it's like floating on a raft above this roller coaster world. And it's not that our challenges don't go away, because I have the same challenges everybody else has. And when we're living into this oneness, this spiritual universe of which we're inseparable from, where we're in that deeply connected state, which is our daily practice, and we're anchored by that throughout our day. It is like a raft because we're not caught up as I was growing up, and most of us, in just that whole day to day of, oh, this is a horrible day, or this is a great day, but it's kind of manic, like that up and down. When we're living into this oneness, into this connected state, this inseparable universe of which we are a part, we're in the properties of that, right? And scientists share it's harmony, right? Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, Steve Behrman, it's harmony, right? That's what the universe is. There we go. We're living into this beautiful harmony, this bliss, this peace. We're going to all express that in different ways, but we used to think it was the old American dream, climbing into power and fame and fortune. And we all realized, boy, was that an illusion, big barrage, nothing there. But there is a there. And that there is this whole conscious living thing, which I would call, again, like sort of floating on a raft above all of the challenges in this world.
So I want to bring Elaine Parke on and Rosie Greep as well for a few minutes to talk about this oneness mastermind idea that you have. Elaine?
Well, thank you, Steve. Actually, my jaw is dropping at the perfect concentric nature of what Dave has been saying and what Richard's been saying. It tracks back to my little 1-minute comment, on how peace and oneness is just an image unless, you give it form and structure. And that's exactly where we're all going. I also want to say what a wonderful evening we're having on this first International One One Oneness Day. And it's not in my remarks, but we learned in the very beginning of this event that the cosmic consciousness does have a little bit of sense of humor and played with us a little bit. but thankfully, he got back on our side and we're having a wonderful time. And I just hope everybody else is too. Let's give a deep round of gratitude to one and to all of us. So kind of building a little on what's gone on tonight and what Richard and what David have been saying. I'm tempted to make the statement, now's the time for the rubber to hit the road. Is that kind of what we're talking about here?
I'd say so.
The why we're all here part. And from my perspective, and I do have a background in marketing and communications, and you'll see this as I go on, the burning question of our time is, here it is, how do we spread peace and unity around the globe to reach beyond those of us who already know the reality of oneness? How do we reach those who are more focused on fear and separation? Reaching those people is the problem. So oneness is our mission, but it's not an action, as I've said earlier. You can't do oneness or peace or even the golden rule for that matter, because they are not specific actions. So how do we awaken the planet's unawakened? How do we arouse 8 billion people to the truth that we will only thrive together? The challenge is, can we wage love as well as we wage war? The answer is that together, as all of us, we will mastermind oneness. We will do this in a way that's so powerful that we will unify us beyond our differences. So you say, what is masterminding? Well, like a master key that opens all the doors, masterminding includes everyone. Some of us may already know about it or are even part of a mastermind group. Like the meditation and prayer, masterminding is a path that connects us to God, the cosmic consciousness that is the source of harmony and all good, all harmony and all good. I've always said that prayer is talking to God and meditation is listening. So we empty ourselves and clear ourselves of our thoughts so that the wisdom of God can flow into us. So prayer and meditation can change earthly outcomes when they are waged collectively and when they are focused on specific identified outcomes. This is called masterminding. Based on the where two or more of us are gathered, I am in your midst principle, masterminding occurs when two or more are focused on the same identifiable outcome at the same time. A well-known example is when we all pray for people who we know who are ill. That's a focused masterminding. We're praying as a group, but we're sending that focus to the person who's ill. Many of you may know that in 1993, there was a group meditation experiment in Washington, D.C. that in 1 month brought crime down 23.3%. Fewer than 2,000 meditators changed the consciousness of more than 500,000 residents in DC. This was actually masterminding. The meditators collectively sent out the same focused messages for peace, nonviolence, and caring, and that energy was being received into the consciousness of the 500,000 unaware masses all around them. Today, for the first time, we are revealing a new path, one of the paths, as both David and Richard have said, that involves each of us and all of us as a oneness mastermind. This is a great experiment to redirect misguided global consciousness towards the reality of true cosmic consciousness of peace and harmony. Shared masterminding will energize and amplify the intent and the intentions of harmony and unity and peace to become powerful enough to counterfoil against the global influencers who are focused on materialism and separation. Even though you can't just do oneness, we can do specific aspects of oneness and of golden rule living, like gratitude, helping others, kindness, resolving conflicts, being positive, and being more patient. We are asking each of us to become a oneness mastermind, collectively focusing our meditations and prayers on one of 12 aspects of peace and oneness each month of the year. We are being the change we wish to see, not alone, but all together as all of us. On Monday, January 15th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, just 4 days from now, we're inviting you to our regular monthly Zoom party where we will collaboratively share the details of how we will do monthly oneness masterminding together and begin local habits of oneness initiatives. And by the way, Richard, I just love your concept of village awakening movement. That's totally, totally cool. I will be doing this event together with Rosie Greep, who has a background in community organizing. She's been in crime prevention, and she was a community, she was in the police department as a community affairs coordinator for the police for many years. She's also been doing the 12 habits in several different communities for a number of years and very successfully. So you'll see a lot more, you'll see here Rosie in a couple of minutes. In addition, we're announcing that from now on, all of us will be hosting a monthly oneness mastermind group session right here on the first Monday of each month at 6 p.m. If you received a link to this event, you will receive an invitation to that one. If not, go to our website, 12habits.allofus, 12habitsforallofus.org, and you can find the link. So we're in January's habit, which is help others. And what are we doing tonight other than help others? I mean, it's just totally remarkable. We are manifesting it perfectly. But February's habit, when we have the first mastermind meeting, the habit is you count, a perfect focus for building the energy and momentum we need. The Oneness Mastermind group process focuses on one thing, helping us make the changes we want to see and be in our world. First, we create a vision and a goal. Then, with the help of the other members of our group, we design a step-by-step plan to achieve our goals. We hope that together we'll not only do our own protocols, but people in their own communities will start their own mastermind groups with their family, their friends, their neighbors, and coworkers. All of us can't possibly be all of us without you. So be committed and be there. We look forward to seeing you on January 15th and January 5th. And thank you for being the you who are here now. Only together will we wage the love we need to thrive. Thank you. Back at you, Steve.
Thank you, Elaine. Thank you so very, very much. That is television and a reality. I'm really glad that we're launching this. Rosie, we want you to share a little bit about this too, because you're part of that. You're masterminding the mastermind. So give us a little bit of background on how you've applied some of this and how you're seeing the mastermind process working.
For the past 5 years, my church has met in the community center in Mountains View, Minnesota. We're not building a church, we're building a community. And one of the tenets of the church was we're all about community and all about the community. And so we've chosen Mountains View to put all our efforts in it to make them feel loved and cared about, and hopefully join us in our oneness as well. Each week I meet with the middle school kids. Yes, I'm crazy enough to do that. And I pass these 2 bulletin boards that were blank for a whole year going, that needs to have something on it. I think Elaine's influence really had a big hand in that. In 2006, I had the opportunity of working with her in Pennsylvania. And we introduced the 12 caring habits to the entire community. And we were very blessed at that time to have an organization called FOOF, Focus on Our Future. And it had every aspect of the community represented: schools, churches, businesses, just you name it, they were there. And so when Elaine made her presentation, everybody sat there looking at each other going, yeah, we can do this. And it made sense, and it made a big difference. And so as I worked with my group of 30 kids for a truancy intervention, we implemented the quote for the day, the activities. We went out and did community service projects. And the group that I worked with, my best success story is Willie. He was in 8th grade, I think, at the time, and probably the most annoying kid in the whole school. Every time he walked into a room, everybody kind of went, oh no, he's here again. But we were doing peer mediation, and he wanted to be a peer mediator. And I thought, all right, we'll give you a try. He turned out to be one of the best mediators I had. And it gave him so much pride and joy that he went on to inspire others to help with it too. So throughout that process, the whole community posted posters, they put up table tents, they did coloring contests, they did a float in the parade. Everybody was involved, and everybody was sharing the same momentum each month. As the new habit came out, we'd wear the same colors. We'd offer a helping hand. We'd remind each other that they were valuable. And it really caught on and really made a big difference in the community. I'm not as blessed to have a FOOF committee in Mounds View, but I've just started my initiative. So as we go along, I'll give you some feedback on how my successes are going. But at this point, I already have one class of youth groups that are very interested in hearing about each of the habits every month. So it's first confirmed today. So I'm excited, and I haven't even been at it that long.
Go, Rosie.
So what it does, it offers a lot of self-empowerment for people who are feeling so frustrated and so helpless that don't think they can make a difference. But they can. Simply by walking into a store and smiling at the clerk behind the cash register will make a big impact on their day. Just as was mentioned, opening a door even has that too. We can serve as being that visible reminder if we're reminded. And it has to be important to somebody somewhere to make that difference. And as we get together and encourage each other to do something nice for somebody or to do something good for ourselves, it's contagious. And communication fails when nobody is listening. And so that's one of the things we can start with, is start listening. And it doesn't happen if both people are talking at the same time. So we can encourage that process as well. There's no instant fix. But gradually, small incremental changes can be noticed and observed readily, simply by having a group of kids that are no longer calling each other names. That's a big step. Beacons of light appear in grocery lines when somebody lets somebody go ahead of them. So it's little steps, little positive things that we can do that make us feel good, that make others feel even better. To be acknowledged that you are there really makes an impact on a person in their lives. So I want to encourage everyone to be the reason that people smile. And hopefully it's because you entered the room and not because you're leaving.
Thank you, Rosie.
You got one on the Swami.
That was good. That was good. Yeah. Some people light up a room when they leave. Yes, we know that. This has really been. You just
had a couple of bosses like that.
Middle schoolers.
Yeah.
Not you too,
yeah. We won't go into that. But I really appreciate our presenters really offering feet on the ground ways to make a difference where you are. And let us please note that neither the poor people who are part of the Sarvodia program or the citizens of Reno, Nevada who participated in Richard's symbiotic networks there, or the school children that you're working with, Rosie, you worked with in the past, none of those people had advanced academic degrees. They were not enlightened. They were just ordinary people who were exposed to an extraordinary way of relating to one another. And these extraordinary ways of relating to one another that were outlined by all of us, by you, Rosie, by Elaine, by Richard, by David. All of these ways of relating to one another are the ways that we bring oneness to reality in the here and now. It's way simpler than having some big theory that you have to live up to. It's practical and on the ground. So for the final part of our program, we're going to segue into the participation part of the program. Oh, but first, I think we have one more message from the Swami. So can we bring the Swami in?
Okay, stand by, please.
I see.
Well, that's great.
Oh, Rosie.
That is so good. Okay. And now, as we come to the final portion of our One One Oneness celebration, let us affirm our oneness by doing the one thing that every one of us on the planet knows how to do, otherwise we wouldn't be here, and that is to breathe. Breathing, all of us know how to breathe. That is very simple. Now, all of the talk of dark conspiracies, well, what if we had an open conspiracy of light? After all, conspire means to breathe together. So what if all of us together breathe love into the field? Breathe love into the field every moment that we can remember, to breathe love into the field. And imagine all of us doing that. Now you say, how could that help? Well, I say, how could it hurt, right? All of us breathing love together. I tell you, it would be a breath of fresh air. So now we have a chance to conspire so that we inspire awareness so that our species doesn't expire. I've said it many times. Either we will have an awakening or we will have a wake. Okay, for millennia, we have grappled with the puzzle of peace. And I say each of us brings a piece of the puzzle. A little piece here, a little piece there, and pretty soon we will have one big piece everywhere. So all that inner peace you've been cultivating all these years, time to let it out. All out peace. And then we can all breathe a sigh of relief. Okay, well, Swami said it better than me. As we enter this final segment, we're going to ground all of this good information in music, breathe out the old, breathe in the new, in the ceremony to launch a truly new year. And now Larisa Stow and the Shakti tribe will offer us a mantra to move by, to put us in the right frame of mind and heart to do our final ceremony for tonight.
Jai bend to listen in. We bow and we 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 bend to listen in. Bow and we bend to listen in. Bow and we bend to listen in. Oh, just breathe in. Just breathe
Well, that was quite amazing, quite amazing. I do believe that Larisa is in the room, so let's bring her on for a minute to introduce herself. There she is. Hello there.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Oh my goodness. It's so fun to share with you all my passion, which is just sharing that connection to source in ourselves, that love, and our breath that's connected to source. Such a gift. Talk about oneness, right? So that's what creates that oneness, is connecting to our breath. That brings us back into that singularity where we can truly listen to source, which is where we are all connected when we listen in. And there's so much more to say than that, right? But that's just, that is the heart of it, is that deep listening, and where we all connect and we all know that truth of that love, and remembering that, right?
Thank you. Thank you for helping us hit the source. We've been hitting the source pretty hard there. That's good. We got a big hit of the source through that music, which embodied it. It embodies it for all of us. So thank you for sharing that amazing gift with us, Larisa. Thanks.
Thanks.
And now,
thank you.
Thank you so much. And now we're going to get to this process. We're going to have a breathe in. We're going to take a breather, and we're going to bring on Linda Starwolf to lead us in this process that will take us through the finale here of our program, where we really embody this. So thanks, Larisa, for setting the tone, setting the stage for this part of the program.
Thank you.
Is Larisa still there? First of all, yes, she is. Larisa, thank you so much. I will definitely ask to connect with your music, because we use so much music with Venus Rising, which is my organization. And I've been doing breath work since the 1980s. So it's been a while. And I had my first breath experience with holotropic breath work, with Stan Groff, with Jacqueline Small, with some other amazing people, Leonard Orr, with rebirthing, all those kinds of things. So I've been very aware of the breath, especially because I had kind of an asthmatic condition as well. And I did so much healing that I really healed myself physically, mostly mentally, and sometimes emotionally. And I still do, because it's not it's one day at a time.
Yeah.
And to remember to breathe, right?
Mm-hmm.
To remember to breathe. And of course, even during these past 4 years, there's kind of been this in the news, officer, I can't breathe.
How about that?
Okay. To, oh my goodness, my lungs are congested, I can't breathe. And it's as if the whole world finally caught up, with what we've been hearing from the indigenous peoples for, millennia, is that how good is anything if we don't have the air and the water and the earth right? And the warmth that we need from the fire, from the sun. So part of what I bring to, as part of my, I guess you could say, Dharma, and for some reason my phone started recording everything I'm saying. It's probably the CIA or the FBI. They still have tried. My father was a state policeman, and he came home when I was 16, and he said, "You're on the CIA list." I said, "Finally."
I think about half of us have FBI files. Yes.
Yeah,
I
probably
know.
more than half. Probably more than half. Anyway, they're listening. But I hope they are listening, because we all need to breathe. But the music added to the breath is like breathing on with, I don't like to use the word steroid, but it's like that, in that it takes us so much more into a powerful place of feeling everything, right at a time when so many people don't want to feel, and they're blocking it out. And, and I've done that. I have a recovery, if I make it till March 21st, of 41 years of sobriety. Oh no, 42 years of sobriety. But who's counting after 40 years? So the music is so important, and putting with the breath is what I do. I put the music and the breath together and create sacred shamanic ceremony. To me, the word shamanic belongs to every human being and to every animal and every creature, that the shamanic world is who we all are before we forgot who we were. And that the shamanic world is that we are water, we are earth, we are fire, we are air, and we are spirit. We are the actual embodiment of spirit in our elemental bodies. And these elemental bodies depend upon the elements to be in balance, not imbalanced, but to be in balance here. And as within, so without. It's pretty simple in that way. It's not simple maybe to implement with our complicated and complex minds. But this balance that I think that we're all seeking is to balance the light and dark. It's not to get rid of the dark. The shadow is so important, and that's a big part of my work, is to bring in the shadow and to say, this thing of darkness is mine. It's not just yours or theirs, it's also mine. And, I try to find any place where I'm resistant to anything, to find at least a speck that I can identify and say, me too. And I really believe, and I know from my years as a therapist, I had many years working as a therapist, many years working, in addictions, if you want to find shadow. Once I came through my own addictions for almost 42 years ago, I knew that I wanted to, yes, spirit uses everything. All things work together for good for those who love goodness and love godness and goddess. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So in my recovery and my discovery, I became an addiction specialist, and I worked with the light and the dark a lot. And you know where I found most of the darkness? In the organizations, not the people. Not the wounded people, not the people who were wounded because they could not live in a world that did not hold a space for them, which is all of us, to be real humane beings. And so I found the path of breath work, and I left the field of mental health after being a specialist, and I left the field and being an addictions counselor, just like 3 years, finally let my license go. And basically the last, going on 35 years now, what I have done is breathe people. My mother, who's 94, still looks at me and goes, "And they pay you for that?" My Kentucky mother, she's like, "I don't get it," because she worked at Walmart in the office her whole life. And she said, and they paid you to breathe. I don't understand it. I don't either, but they do. So that's enough about my background, but you have all touched me so deeply this evening. I feel so incredibly honored to be sitting here in my messy, you all are also neat, and I've got my medicine room with feathers and animal parts that I did not destroy the animals, that they were found and used in a wise and sweet and sacred manner. But I want to share a little bit of breath work with you before we end this evening. So we're going to do about about 10 or 15 minutes. Is that, do we need to be done at 9:30?
We're trying to, yeah.
We're getting close to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so but I'll just shorten it down
We'll have to breathe fast. We'll have to breathe fast.
Okay, we'll breathe. So we're going to do, I'll give you just demonstrate it to you, and then we'll have some music come on. It's actually original music that I created with a friend of mine some years ago. And it's on about the spiral path that we're on, not the linear, not the circle, but the spiral. And we're going to breathe for about 7 or 8 minutes. And then when we're complete after that, if there's any quick comments there can be, I'm going to go ahead and say this to you now because you're going to be altered afterwards. So no driving, okay? And you can say it's really weird. Yes, officer. And we have had this happen. I was only breathing. That's a true story. So with the breath, you're going to breathe deeply in through your nose. If you can't, you can use your mouth. But if you can, this is a method, and you can breathe in through your nose and then out through your mouth. Just that exaggerated, okay? And you'll do that until you're surprised. And the music will be, it's an activating music, and the breath is activating. And then just pretend it's the 60s again and see what goes through your brain, see what goes through your mind. For those of you who weren't around in the 60s and 70s, this is your chance to tune in and time travel. And so, and I feel sorry for you, but anyway, that's really why I do all this, just so I can take everybody back into the 60s again. But seriously, when you're doing the breathing, just let your mind go clear. Offer your own prayer, like I surrender, I'm willing to see or know whatever, or specifically, I have something that needs healing, or whatever is in your heart. The great mystery always receives our prayers. So with that, I invite everybody to, if you want to turn any lights down that you want to kick back in your chair. If you're driving, please pull over and put it into park. And as you're ready, just close your eyes. And as we begin here, I'm going to light a little bit of smudge for you all. I did for the smaller group earlier, but I'm just going to burn a little smudge here for us. And I always do that in my groups and in my trainings and healing programs. And I'm bringing in a beautiful swan wing that came from a swan who died naturally in Iceland. And one of my students sent it to me, so she's here for you tonight. And the swan feathers, according to the Seneca tradition, is about surrender. So may we all surrender to our individual and collective prayers of wholeness, of peace. And may we find a way to reconcile the light and the dark within ourselves and in the world. So if you would close your eyes and begin to breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth, and in through your nose, out through your mouth, and let the music carry you, and let the breath carry you for the next 7 or 8 minutes. Breathe until you're surprised. Have a sacred journey. Take another deep breath. Exhale fully. Bring all that you've experienced, any messages, any just inner knowings, prayers sent, blessings received. Deep breath. Exhale fully and return. A heart full of gratitude and oneness. Welcome back.
Thank you so much, Linda Storwolf. Thank you so much for that. We wish we had a bit more time to continue that process, but I have a feeling that the process has begun. Love your logo. One heart, one breath, one love. That's what we're really all about. And to finally wrap up this program, I want to thank all of our presenters and everybody who was here. Thank you so much, Elaine Parke and Kurt Griffith and Rosie Greep and David Gruder and Richard Fire and Larisa Stow and Linda Starwolf and everybody on the call. And for the finale, we want to unmute everybody so that we can all heave a deep sigh of relief as we release all of the trauma from the past. We bring back all of the good that our ancestors have brought to us, and we take it with us through the rest of the year. So I will count to 3, and then we will breathe a sigh of relief. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Very, very good. Well, thank you so much for being on the call. We look forward to being with you for the rest of the year and look forward to all of us participating together. Thank you once again.
Okay, I'm going to stop for a plug before people all have to start dashing off. I'm going to post the sign up link at our site for people oops.
Kurt, maybe post the site.
Yeah,
12
well, I'm
habits
doing
for
it.
all of us. Okay.
I'll do it both ways. That'll get it
And
done.
remember, Monday, if anyone wants to come to our January party where Rosie Greep and I will be co-hosting, and we will be launching the Masterminding of Oneness.
Okay. And our main site. Actually, what I will do is I will make sure that all the connected people get connected, at least
Okay,
all the
great.
participants. The very least we could do. One of the things is, like, being a ceremonial singer or drummer, we can't go out. We have to kind of have one foot in this reality and keep that heartbeat going. but it was still wonderful. Okay. I'll keep the lights on for a little while for people who are dedicated night owls, like Creative Pros myself. Unless there's anybody has parting remarks, I think that would be the night.
Anybody want to raise their hand and ask a question?
I just want to say thanks for the opportunity to be part of the oneness.
Ah, Rosie, how lovely.
I'm gonna switch us over to the gallery. See all the people. There we go.
Good to see so many people I know on this call.
I recognize
it's really
people
wonderful.
here.
Yeah.
Okay.
My friends from Ann Arbor and other places.
I would like to acknowledge Swami Beyondananda. I'd like to acknowledge you for keeping the faith all these years. And all those years ago, when I first met you up at the ashram, when we were trying to help a misguided guru, for real, and working with the shadow, so that we could bring the light back into the people's there with the breath work, and also with your beautiful, loving heart and humor in a very, very, if you could say, painful situation. And that gained a lot of respect for you there, and have known you through the years and witnessed you walking this path for so long. Thank you for holding and keeping the faith, and for bringing together such a lovely group of people, of presenters, facilitators, teachers, way showers, and all the other people out there that have showed up. Tells me that their hearts are also in alignment with this wake up and this oneness. So thank you.
Thanks so much for the acknowledgement, and I appreciate our friendship. That was, I think, 1996. That's a while back when we were at that event.
Yeah, I see it. Now, I remember my first sweat was in the mid 80s. Seems like a long time ago. And then I met a man named Gilbert Walking Bull, who, that my first sweat with him, I was coming from an event where I picked up dysentery, and man, I think that guy melted my earwax.
I raised my hand.
Okay, Elaine, my dear.
I just wanted to, I'll read what I put in the text in case someone doesn't see it. Thank you with all my heart for being here for the first International One One Oneness Day. So many lovely souls are here together and sharing oneness. And I also want to remind them about the January one Help Others. It'll be our normal second Monday in the month. And Rosie Greep and I will be the co-hosts. Third Monday, right. Rosie Greep and I will be the co-hosts, and Kurt will be sending out links to everyone. And that we also will be launching now a first Monday of the month event, which will be our mastermind group. And we hope our oneness mastermind group, and we hope that other people will start oneness mastermind groups all over the country from here. So thank you, everyone.
And keep in mind that when we send out a notice after this program for the people who are on the program, we'll have links to the work of all the presenters, David Gruder's work, and Richard's Symbiotic Culture Substack platform. So I think we have the beginning of a real One One Oneness community, and I so appreciate all of our presenters and all of our participants.
It's just been wonderful.
As somebody quoted the Swami, Namaste, Namasko.
Yes.
Thank you all for being here.
Anyway, I think it's time to say goodnight. We've all gotten, I mean, I don't know if anyone has been on this call has gotten half as much out of it as I have. I mean, what I've learned and the way I've grown this evening from everyone is just amazing. I love you all.